Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I'm going to show you right now is one of the most hopeful things that I've seen in a minute coming from our side of the aisle. One of the things that we focus on this channel is passing the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation. I'm about to show you an excerpt from the Glenn Beck Program, which I guarantee you was inspired by something that you and I talk about when they're focusing on the National Red Flag Law Center that the DOJ just established on a mainline source. Everything will be linked. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. You are going to love every second of this. All right, beautiful people. I'm going to show you an intro clip, and then we're going to walk down a few things. But understand, the efforts that you are making, while they may not be changing the entire tide of the ocean immediately in the day-to-day, in the long term, we are winning, and it is working. Check this out, and I will tie this all together for you.
You know, I thought we'd look at the Constitution. A caller last hour was right on the money when he said, you know, this center that can take your gun away without due process, yeah, that's a big one. That's a violation of the Second Amendment, but it's also a violation of many other amendments.
All right, so understand the setup here. A caller called into Glenn Beck's show, and he was upset about the National Red Flag Law Center, which, by the way, he should be, and we all should be. But understand that caller got that information from somewhere. Was it something that you shared? Was it something I covered? Jared? Anthony? Was it something that went out from a video? The point that I'm trying to make here is the information that we are all sharing and we are working together to further freedoms is permeating the mainline conversation of politics. So much so that a caller, not set up, a random caller calls into Glenn Beck, happens to get through, and there's enough message consistency and confidence that he points out there are multiple Bill of Rights infringements with multiple amendments around red flag laws that are being pushed by the DOJ through their new National Red Flag Law Center. Understand how important and massive that is, because that means the message is permeating to every circle. Keep going. Now, let me walk you through some of the things that he says here about the individual amendments, and he puts it to a mainline audience, very similar to the video we did with Tulsi Gabbard. The video with Tulsi Gabbard was all about her messaging to a mainline audience towards the middle. Glenn Beck isn't right in the middle, but he is a mainline, broad, mainstream source on the conservative thought. Listen to this, okay? Here we go. Second Amendment.
Article 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the one that everybody will look to on this particular new center from the Department of Justice. A well-regulated militia. Would that make sense? Would it make sense that the people couldn't have guns and the federal government would have a huge army? No. In fact, we never had a standing army. We were the soldiers. We would be called up to arms. So you'd have your own arms. And then when there was war, you'd be called up in a militia.
The people are the militia. That's the point. Again, don't just focus on what Glenn Beck is saying. Focus on the audience of which he is saying it to. The Second Amendment, kind of baseline. We understand that part. And honestly, a lot of conservatives in the general understand that part as well. But this next piece, where they add more and more and more Bill of Rights amendments that are infringed upon through this National Red Flag and red flag laws in general. Check this out. This is the whole game right here. This is the Fourth Amendment he's about to talk about.
Fourth Amendment, the right of people to be secure in their persons. Do you feel secure in your person? Houses, paper, effects, against all unreasonable search and seizures shall not be violated. It's violated all the time.
Unreasonable search and seizure, red flag laws. You actually have no way to face your accuser. We're about to go through all of these things. That's the Fourth Amendment. So now we're at Second Amendment, check. Fourth Amendment, check. Again, keep in mind, he's going down the road of does this make common sense, which is Glenn Beck's shtick. His whole thing is common sense politics. That's the entire point. What does it do for the everyday man, and is the government going to infringe upon those common sense policies? That's his whole point. That's his whole shtick, right? Now, I'm going to hit the Fifth Amendment he's about to say. Again, we're just going to go through this, and we conclude at the Sixth, okay? So we're going to get there.
No person shall be held to answer for capital, otherwise infamous crime unless the presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject to the same offense twice to be put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall he be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Those are being violated, but in particular with this new center where they can come into your house and take your guns without due process. Clear violation of the Bill of Rights. Clear. So you got 3 of them now that have been broken just for this one law. Don't tell me you love democracy. Don't tell me you love freedom. Don't tell me you're trying to save the Republic and you love the Constitution if you're violating this many, and we're only halfway through. You're in direct violation of the Bill of Rights.
Again, this is the key point of the reason I'm doing this whole video, the reason I did the Tulsi Gabbard video I did earlier this week. He's talking to an audience that's in the middle, that is not a hardline gun rights audience. For example, if you are watching this and the only thing that you cared about was the Second Amendment, which is the case for some people are single issue voters, that's not the problem. That's not saying that's an issue. But what I'm saying is the audience that he speaks to doesn't necessarily 100% align to that. Some would be abortion only, some would be conservative, some would be Republican in general, some would be overall libertarian. There's lots of different appeals that people are not going to dive too deeply into something because it's not their forte, okay? If you're watching the 2A stuff on a routine basis, that's something that you care about and that's your forte, right? That's an expertise area that you really genuinely care about, and that's great. But again, it's about audience. Same thing with Tulsi Gabbard. It's the audience. Tulsi Gabbard was going Democrat to center left to center right. Glenn Beck is going center-ish, center right to right. The message that we are delivering is permeating to the point where it's getting into these different groups now. That's the key. All right, now let me get to the Sixth Amendment part that he hits on, and we're going to wrap it with 4 Bill of Rights violations that are coming from the National Red Flag Law Centers and red flags in general. Personally, this whole momentum continues. You're going to see red flag laws get a lot of critique. Check this out, Sixth Amendment.
Washington, D.C., you don't. And to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and have the assistance of counsel for his defense. In this new center that they announced, you don't get the due process. You don't get to face the witness. You don't know the cause of accusation. You have nothing on your side.
In the first 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights, the first amendments, you have 4 violations with red flag laws. 4. The second, the fourth, the fifth, and the Sixth Amendment. You don't get to face your accuser. You don't get due process. And due process, do you remember that? Because Chris Murphy got on CBS with Tom Tillis and Kirsten Sinema and said, yeah, they really drove that due process. That was a hard bargain. Guys, these points are so easy to deliver if you fully are confident in what we talk about, which is what you're seeing inspire this entire segment by Glenn Beck when a caller called in. This is it. This is how we win. Keep up the fight. Everything will be linked, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think. Let me know what you think. I'll see you on the next one.